Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and you can't move? Maybe you feel a presence in the room, a shadow in the corner, this weight on your chest, and this just overwhelming sense of dread, but you're completely, utterly frozen. Yeah, that's not a scene from a horror movie. For millions of people, it's a terrifyingly real thing that happens in that strange, blurry borderland between being awake and being asleep.
This right here is the classic description of sleep paralysis. It's that creepy, unsettling moment where your mind just snaps on. You're fully conscious, but your body is still locked down tight by sleep. You can see, you can hear, you can feel everything, but you can't move a single muscle. You can't even make a sound. It's this deep feeling of helplessness that's fueled myths about demons and ghosts for centuries. From the old hag and folklore to the incubus of ancient Rome. But what's really going on is actually a fascinating and kind of weird glitch in our brain's nightly operating system.
Okay, so let's dive in. Here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that terrifying feeling of being trapped in a nightmare. Then, we'll pop the hood and look at the brain's dream engine to figure out why it happens. We'll see how that engine is busy processing life in your sleep, and then look at when dreams become tools that we can actually use. And finally, we'll bring it all together to help us understand your inner world a little better.
So, let's start with the mystery itself. What exactly is this phenomenon? Why do we sometimes wake up and find ourselves totally conscious but completely paralyzed, a lot of times right in the middle of what feels like a waking nightmare? Okay, so at its core, sleep paralysis is a brief loss of muscle control. The technical term is atonia. It's considered a REM parasomnia, which is really just a fancy way of saying it's an unusual thing that happens during our REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. You can think of it as a mixed state of consciousness, where your waking mind kind of boots up too early while the paralysis and the crazy vivid imagery of REM sleep are still running in the background. It's basically a desynchronization, a temporary hiccup in that normally smooth transition from dreaming to waking up. And these experiences often get terrifying, because something like 75% of the time, they come with hallucinations. And these usually fall into three main categories. First, you've got the intruder hallucination, that distinct, bone-chilling feeling that a dangerous person or something is in the room with you. Then there's the incubus type, which creates that physical feeling of pressure on your chest, making it hard to breathe. And that one is often paired with the intruder. And finally, you've got the vestibular motor type, which is just surreal. We're talking out-of-body experiences, like floating above your bed or flying around the room. So we get the what? It's a seriously frightening experience. Now let's get into the why. To understand this glitch, we need to look at the machinery it's messing with. So it's time to take a look under the hood at the brain's nightly emotional processing system, what we're going to call the dream engine. So what is going on up there in our neural wiring during REM sleep that even makes something like sleep paralysis possible? I mean, why does our brain paralyze us in the first place, and what happens when that super carefully timed system misfires? Right, so think of REM sleep as the time when your dream engine is just running at full blast. And this isn't about random images flashing in your head. This is a critical time when your brain is hard at work consolidating memories, regulating your emotions, and pretty much processing the fire hose of information you get all day. And this engine has some really specific settings that are the key to understanding both normal dreams and that super unsettling experience of sleep paralysis. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. When you're in REM sleep, the part of your brain that's in charge of logic and self-control, it's pretty much suppressed. That's why dreams are so bizarre and we just roll with it. At the same time, your emotional centers, like the amygdala, are fired up and highly active, which is why dreams feel so real and intense. And crucially, your brainstem actively paralyzes your muscles, that's atonia, as a safety feature. It's to stop you from physically acting out these wild dreams. So sleep paralysis is the glitch. Your conscious mind wakes up, but the paralysis and that hyper-emotional state of the dream engine haven't switched off yet. Okay, so if that's how the engine works, what's its main job? Why do we spend a big chunk of our night in this really strange state of paralyzed emotional simulation? Well, the main function seems to be processing our lives, filing away memories, and maybe most importantly, regulating our emotional reactions to them. And this isn't just a random jumble. Research shows a pretty clear, structured timeline. First, you have the day residue effect, where stuff that happened to you today pops up in your dreams tonight. But then there's this dream lag effect, where those same experiences show up again about a week later. It suggests this cool two-step process, a quick initial processing followed by a much deeper integration of that memory into your long-term life story, connecting it to all your older related memories.
The electrical signature of all this memory work seems to be tied to theta waves. More frontal theta activity during REM sleep is consistently linked with being able to remember your dreams better and successfully filing away emotional memories. You can think of theta waves as the rhythm section of your brain's orchestra, just laying down that steady beat that lets memories get tagged, sorted, and stored for later.
So while theta waves are filing the memory, another rhythm, gamma waves, is working on the feeling part of it. The theory is that by replaying these memories in a state where your stress hormones are turned way down, the brain can actually diffuse their emotional charge. It's basically overnight therapy. It strips the sharp emotional edges off of tough experiences so we can learn from them without being constantly traumatized by them.
So, understanding this engine is step one. The next step is learning how to work with it. You see, when that emotional regulation process messes up, we can get stuck in things like recurring nightmares. But by understanding the system, we can actually find ways to influence it and turn the dream state from something to be afraid of into a powerful tool for growth and even healing.
So here you see the two extremes of our dream life. Nightmares are kind of like a system failure where fear processing goes haywire and traps us in a terrifying loop. This is a big part of conditions like PTSD. But then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have lucid dreams. That's when you realize you're dreaming while you're still in the dream. And that awareness can give you some control over the story, offering a potential way to confront and even change a nightmare from the inside.
And this isn't just some hypothetical idea. It's the basis of a proven clinical technique called imagery rehearsal therapy, or IRT. It's basically a way to consciously hack your own dream script. During the day, you remember the nightmare and write it down. Then, you actively rewrite it, giving it a new, less scary, more empowering ending. Finally, you just rehearse this new version in your mind every day. This process can actually reprogram the dream, making nightmares less frequent and less intense by creating a new, better neural pathway for your brain to follow.
So, let's bring this all home. We've gone from the pure terror of sleep paralysis to the super intricate neuroscience of our dream engine, and even to practical tools that can help us change our dreams. What does this all mean for you, and how can you use this knowledge?
First off, if you've ever had sleep paralysis, you need to know you are so far from alone. Studies estimate that about 1 in 5 people, 20%, will have an episode at some point. It's a common, if seriously freaky, part of being human. And just understanding the simple neurological glitch behind it can take away a lot of the fear. It recasts it from some kind of supernatural attack to just a temporary biological misfire.
And the good news is, there are real, concrete steps you can take to make these glitches less likely to happen. Most of it really just comes down to good sleep hygiene. Keeping a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends, helps keep your brain's internal clock in sync. Making your bedroom a sanctuary for sleep, dark, cool, and quiet, is huge. And just managing what you're putting into your system, like cutting back on caffeine and stress and putting away those screens before bed. All of it gives your brain the stable environment it needs to move smoothly through all the sleep stages.
So when you really think about it, our journey through the night is anything but a passive experience. It's active, it's vital. Our dreams are the workshop where our brain processes the past, takes the sting out of its emotional triggers, and even runs simulations for the future. They're a direct line to our biggest concerns, our fears, and our hopes. And when you start to see them not as just random noise, but as a meaningful dialogue with your own mind, well, that changes everything. It's an invitation to listen a little closer to the stories you tell yourself every single night.